Oh God, did this work? Okay. Hello. Hello, people.
Hello.
We're back with Bonzo. I don't know. Okay. What happened to Discord? It's me.
Hi.
Oh, wait. I gotta pop this out. Oh Lord. Did I just close it? Oh, I did the wrong thing. I swear. We know what we're doing. Pop out. Not full screen. Not me.
we, we have not been trying to get this working for a half hour now.
I don't know how this work. Okay. Okay. Now we go back up here. Now I need to center you. Oh God. I moved the chat. Oh, here we go. Okay. Wow. We did it. Okay. Hello everyone. Back with Bonzo for just a real chill retro modding stream. Just talk about stuff, talk about retro news stuff. You're probably curious why the stream? Why not the video? Well, why in addition to the video? And I don't know, just for fun. I will preface this by saying that this is easier. Going live and talking to people is easier than making a video. It takes me a lot less time, but it's more fun too. And I think, did something happen to the chat, or just nobody chatting? And I get to talk with people, which is way more fun than just sitting in my room making a video. It's lonely. Uh-oh. Did your camera die?
Not anymore. Wait, my camera?
Did it go bye-bye, or did I go bye-bye?
No.
Did I make it go bye-bye? Okay. I think I made it go bye-bye. Now it's back. You're good. Okay. Ah, there's everything. Imagine not inviting CO. I tweeted it. I'm not gonna at everyone in the world. Hi, Red Herring. How are you? You're back on Twitter, Red Herring. Were you... Congrats on the portable GameCube. Yeah, I can show it off for a second if we want to talk about that. We're gonna wait a few minutes to start talking about the news stuff. As you can see behind me, I tried to get it so that I could play Xbox. I'm working on Project Stellar video, which is, it's not going to be a two-part. Who are the hell these? Hi, Voltar. How you doing? This is my friend, I guess, Bonzo from my Discord. Runs Bonzo's Retro.shop. Got it. Did I nail it? I hope I nailed it.
I think you nailed it.
Okay, good.
I get an I guess.
Well, I have this saying that is undeserved confidence in everything that I do. Like doing mods, you just have to have, like, unless you're a professional modder and you like do it for a living, you just have to send it, and sometimes you break shit and sometimes you don't, and then hopefully you get to the point where you stop breaking things so often, or you can unbreak them after you break them. So that's what I call.
I think that's it. You get better at fixing them.
Yeah, or you understand the level of difficulty. Like flex cable modding is like, unless you do that a lot, it's that's like a, not quite like riding a bike. It's like, I don't know, something you have to practice to be good at it. Account V2. Red got Twitter again. Yeah. Yep. He's Red Herring 44. With the name Red Herring 42 still. I like it. All right, so I'm working on Stellar. I don't want to show this on the camera, but you might see it sometime. I accidentally burnt my fingers trying to take an iron out of my soldering iron while it was hot. So I have these like cool second-degree burns on my fingers. They don't hurt, but it's just awkward. Yeah, so that's that. Let me get my Ashida. Okay, so let me do one of these numbers by actually I should put your video in here. Yeah, so this is the Ashida for everyone who doesn't know, and more often people don't know than know, but it's a portable Wii that Wesk 3D modeled a Wavebird and kind of just took a Wavebird and went and just made it wide to fit all the stuff inside. And you can't really see it, but right around in the middle is the cut down Wii. It's on top of the heat sinks in here. And this is an IPS screen. Let me load a game. So it's essentially really good at playing it's really good at playing GameCube games, as you can see, because obviously the Wii was backwards compatible with the GameCube, and it has all the buttons of the GameCube. It could do 480p. This screen is a 480p screen, so it's a native resolution, essentially. There are some caveats. You can watch the video at the end. I kind of gripe about some things about the project overall and about this iteration. So the IPS screen has some controls built into it, but like if you follow the default installation of the Ashida, you don't really have any way of controlling the screen controls. So as you can see, it's stretched to 16 by 9. You can change that in the screen settings itself, but that's pretty much inaccessible unless you do. It's hard to explain. You can change it, but right now it's just stretched from 16 by 9. But yeah, it is
to make it not like to expose the controls.
Well, so I've heard that what some people do. So at the bottom here, there's two buttons. There's this is a start button. So this is your GameCube start button. And this is a Bluetooth button that doesn't do anything if you don't put the Bluetooth chip back in. So there's two optional chips from the GameCube or the Wii motherboard that you can choose to not 720. I don't know the actual resolution. Probably, yeah. If that would be, is that 16 by 9? 480p, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so there's the start button and those two optional chips that I didn't include here. The first one is called the MX chip, which is basically the real-time clock functionality. So if you're gonna play like Animal Crossing, I didn't include that yet. That's like an optional thing. I just wanted to kind of get this going. The other one is the Bluetooth button, the Bluetooth chip, which obviously you want to use it handheld. Oh yes, the resin print is from PCBWay, and they sponsor my channel, so check them out. It's pretty cool. It's about, I would say that this is probably about $200 ish, $220 ish. And the Bluetooth chip is not necessarily that helpful for playing it with a Bluetooth controller, obviously, because it's a handheld, right? But you actually can't go into the stock. You can't go into the Wii, like the stock Wii menu, whatever, the Wii boot up menu thing. It won't let you do that. The Ashida, when you boot it up, uses an app called RV Loader, and that's this menu here, and you can use the C stick to change. So like right now we're looking at GameCube games, so we can go into Wii games by holding down the button, or virtual consoles in here, again stretched to 16 by 9. But yeah, you can't go back to the stock Wii menu without it. Anyway, so
Both I was asking if
the Wi-Fi module, it's not. So I think you can also add that. That's a third optional thing, but I don't. So there's kind of 3 steps, and I have 3 videos about this. The first step is to soft mod it, and that's kind of stereotypical Wii soft modding. But then at the very end of the soft modding journey, I guess you install RV Loader, which is that app over top of it. So that's kind of like, okay, I'm done being a real Wii now. Let me because you have to like force this like VGA mode kind of. You have to like this force mode, and then you can also say like disable Wi-Fi So that lets the Wii board work without. So I can't remember. So, anyways, long story short, if you don't use those optional things, the Bluetooth button and everything, there's also a second Z button on the top here. So it's like an LZ. It doesn't do anything. It's not wired to anything. So if you wire the GameCube start button to that button, you can wire the two buttons on the bottom to control the screen. So you can access the IPS screen's menu in with those two buttons. However, Aurelio, there's a big group of people that work on the Ashida, right? So Wesk is the one who designed the case. 4-Layer Tech designed some of these boards that are in the back. So 4-layer, yep. They designed some of the PCBs in here. Aurelio is another. I don't know if they're part of 4-Layer Tech. They might be. They are working on this thing called the Direct Drive board, which is going to be a replacement. There is it underneath here. So attached to the IPS panel is this flex cable. It goes into a driver board. I think it might be a replacement driver board that will actually interface with the Ashida. There's like an I2C bus exposed in here that you can let. So right now, I can do volume, and it shows. Maybe it only shows up in a game. Anyways, there's a scroll button on the bottom here that adjusts the volume. That actually does it in game, and it shows you an on-screen volume thing. Hey, Scepter Seaver. I don't know what's going on with my the chat is not showing up. I wonder if the Streamlabs is broken. Anyway, so the Direct Drive board will allow you to use the firmware, the RV Loader stuff, to adjust the IPS screen. I think by game, like you can set it in the game. So there are some settings in here. If I go to like Zelda and I press B, there's this menu of options, right? So there's Force Progressive, Force Widescreen, Force RVL, DD Stretching. I don't know what that is. There's options in here, but I don't think they do anything yet. So I'm sure there's other people floating around. It's connected via VGA, Voltar, so it's VGA. Digital connection. And audio is digital as well, connected to here. So it's pretty cool. It's got some really interesting features that not really many other retro mods do. I mean, obviously it's completely... There's one gigantic asterisk, and I think I don't have infinite money. This actually uses two not 18650s, but they're bigger lithium-ion batteries in the back here, and it has a USB power delivery chip. Actually, you can see this LED is letting you know if it's charging or not, which is actually a multicolor LED. So if you plug it in, it will indicate that it's charging, and then it will go off when it's off. So that's pretty. It's got some cool creature comforts and stuff. The only problem is it's very picky about which USB power supplies you use with it. I bought this like $50 Ugreen 45-watt power delivery charger. So it has a USB-C ports on it. So I have this USB-C to USB-C cable that's thick, which is what you want for the power delivery stuff. So it should accept the higher wattage. But even if I have the Ashida plugged in, it doesn't charge faster than it drains the battery, even when it's plugged in with this particular charger that I have. I've heard that, well, I have a feeling that particular charger that I have is a 15 volt signal, or 15 volt charging thing, and I think the Ashida wants 12 volt, which is like a non-standard something voltage like that. Are you undervolting the Wii? Not yet. Actually, Voltar, Shank was talking about that. They're talking about doing that with the Wii U, maybe something like that. But that's like a very new development that they are talking about. So that would give you even better battery life. I think probably with it charging, you'd probably get about 3 or 4 hours before it died. You'd probably get it maybe an hour or two not charging while you're in a game. It tells, so it's kind of cool. It tells it's hooked up to everything, so it has a thermistor in there. It tells you the temperature and the battery voltage. So it's very high end. I mean, they thought of everything. This is like, I don't know, peak not peak. I'm sure there's gonna be cooler handhelds, but this is a very neat project that took a long time because I think my second biggest gripe, besides the USB power delivery thing, 15 volts. So like the USB power delivery spec. So let's say you have a 45 watt charger, that could be 15 volts at 3 amps, right? To give you the 45 watts, but that depends on the device. And I think we kind of talked about this during CO's retro space. Like the downsides to doing things like power delivery for like an NES or something that is already 5 volts. You'd have to, versus like giving it whatever the actual power adapter gives it, like what, 9 volts or something. Like USB power delivery can't necessarily do, like they have specific voltages that they kind of can power or can send. So I think that there is like a non-standard like 12 volt power delivery voltage that it will send. So I don't know, it kind of goes above my head and it kind of changes all the time, but there's a bunch of so I'm optimistic because, and I'm holding off on buying power delivery adapters. Here, I'll just show you what I'm talking about, if I can find it down here maybe. Yeah, look at this. This is a very big power adapter. It's pretty large. It's not. So this is a 45 watt charger. They make bigger ones, I know, like 65 watts or whatever. But I'm really excited for the work that Mr. Add-ons is doing with power delivery stuff. So I'm hoping that he can solve a bunch of the retro power delivery issues. He'll have cables. He's gonna source power adapters. Yeah, Voltar, I think that's where the price goes up to. So that's the other downside to all this power delivery stuff, is it's not cheap. And this is not a like I'm not trying to be negative. Like, what's his? I don't remember what his actual Twitter name, but HDR was selling that USB power delivery little thing for the GameCube, and he wanted what, like $40 or something for it. $40 for this little. I mean, I'm sure it was a lot of money and a lot of work to do it, but it's pretty. Yeah, I think Voltar. It just comes down to convenience, and we're seeing that with the PS2 Slim stuff. So, all right, let's not talk about this anymore. I'm gonna move on. You can watch the video, please. Leave comments.
I have one question about it.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a second Z button on there. How does that work?
Second Z button. It just it doesn't do anything. It just is. So there's this custom controller board. One half is in one side and one half is in the other side. So it's really just. It's not a real. It's not a GameCube controller like cut in half. It's like a completely custom. So this is like, I bought a second Z button and I slapped it in there.
So it's not a Z button. It actually does nothing.
Yeah, right now I think it's just not wired up to anything. I don't know if they plan to do something with it, but.
Gotcha.
Oh, this scene has the chat on the screen. That's whack. I think I broke it in the other scene. Yeah. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know, Voltar. I think the it kind of comes down to thinking ahead, because the other project that I really like, and I've done this, I showed this last week, and I'm kind of holding off on this project because it's still in its design phase. This isn't Retro Mining News anymore. It's just talk about mods, I guess. Yeah, so hopefully Voltar is still listening, but there's this, the Xbox Slim is a case for the original Xbox that someone's designing, and this actually doesn't have room for anything. It's basically just wide enough for the original Xbox motherboard, and then like you put a 2.5-inch drive, and it requires basically a Pico power supply to fit into it. So I think, I don't know, it'll have to come down to planning with that stuff, like the BOM. Because right now the BOM is sort of like it's like a lot. If like just to print this is probably, you're talking $100 or $200, and then like, I don't know. Oh, actually, Red Herring's going through it now, so he's working on his whatever he's working on, portable or slash mini thing. Okay.
I'm excited for Kitor's power delivery, or not power delivery, power.
Yeah, the
stuff.
PS2, the PSU thing. Yeah.
Using the PS2.
And sourcing newer aftermarket equivalent power adapters to the PS2 Slim. So that would be nice. He says that there's like medical grade versions that are more efficient, something. I don't know. That's not my expertise. Gonna leave that up to them. All right. Let's move along to. I don't have any windows up, and that's great. What is the first item of business?
It's Electron Shepherd.
It is well, no, it's a lot of things. Sorry, I tried. I have prepared. We have prepared. I have prepared. So yeah, I don't know if I've an interest in me retooling my power board to make a version. What power board? Stock Xboxes. Yeah, let me know about that, Red Herring, because that's interesting. What happened? Oh, you're here. Okay. I think I might have alt-tabbed. Okay. So there's kind of rumors. So the first topic is there's kind of rumors about Super Nintendo HDMI mods, and I think a lot of these things are happening at the same time. I don't really have any. Well, I do have this tweet. I guess I could talk about this tweet. And then my cheese tweet. Okay, hold on. I'm pulling things up. Okay, so yeah, so the first thing that, and this is kind of speculation, but the first thing that made me think about this is this post from Electron Shepherd, who, if you know Electron Shepherd, they're the creators of the Wii to HDMI and the Xbox to HDMI external adapters for both of those consoles. And they said that they're working on a new product with some new hardware. And so this is speculation, but first of all, this is a disgusting Super Famicom, but it is what it is. But I think that the common thing in this box of stuff is they're all consoles with multi-outs. So I was thinking that maybe they're making a multi-out HDMI, which would be interesting. So I think
that is interesting. Do you think it'll be one device that will?
Right. Yeah, that's why I said
consoles?
multi-out, because like if you get the HD Retrovision SNES cable, actually, it's been a while since I've thought about N64 RGB output. Some consoles have it, right? And like some they have it, but it needs to be cleaned up. I'm super rusty when it comes to N64 stuff, but I don't think it's RGB sync. I think it's like a RG. It's like not sync on green, but sync on Luma or something. I don't think the sync signal pin in the multi-out is populated. I think it's sync on Luma or something like that. I remember having to buy a special cable for anyways, but if you buy the HD Retrovision multi-out, you could use it on either obviously the multi-out on like a snap fit multi-out for the NES if you're doing NES RGB, but you're kind of hand wiring that anyways to be stereotypical RGB sync, or a Super Nintendo. So I think yes, the goal would be like if you have he might even be able to make it handle all those different scenarios. But yeah, you have RGB. I'm just kind of reading the chat here. Has nothing to do with digitizing anything. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I think that is so essentially a high quality pound cable would be nice. Oh God, you're yeah. This is amateur hour. Your face is like okay, I have to, I don't know how, like every scene I have to like blow up or change it. I'm sorry people, we're working on it. Oh, there we go. Hey, it makes for comedy. That's what we're here for.
He'll fix it in post.
I hate I'm not touching this VOD. I hate Discord. I hate how there's not a better solution other than that. What was that? Riverside was that app where you can record, but that's not, or like StreamYard, I guess is another thing. But I don't want to use StreamYard. I want to use OBS. So anyway, so that was kind of what made me start thinking about this idea of HDMI mods for the Super Nintendo. I mean, I obviously didn't just start thinking about HDMI mods because we have obviously, well, we had the high def NES, which came and went. Go Nuka Corn Dog. Thanks for stopping by, Voltar.
Take care, Voltar.
So yeah, so obviously this has probably been a long time coming. We have the Genesis HDMI mod coming. We'll have to see how that turns out. So it's kind of, where the hell is this thing? So this kind of was like, got me thinking about maybe this could be a real thing. So, and this would be really cool if it was external, right? So this is not internal, or this might not be internal if this is actual thing. So then Bahamut fan, well, okay, I guess we'll take a step back. We're going to talk about the FireBrandX profiles for the RetroTink 4K in a minute. That'll be the second topic. But I guess I should have talked about that first, but it's fine. So because FireBrandX is working on these really awesome profiles for the RetroTink 4K, Jeff kind of was trolling and saying, rip to all the digital mods, whatever. You could just use analog and get the same or high quality output. But then Bahamut fan was saying, there aren't any HDMI mods yet, or aren't any HDMI mods really for the Super Nintendo. And then Mike Chi said yet, and I think he's talking about the RetroTink Direct, or the 5X Direct, which if you're a veteran of Retro Modding News, I talked about that probably actually I probably talked about that around the same time that the 5X was coming out. So the RetroTink Direct, let's see if I can find a picture of it. Oh, is this, should I not do this live? I probably shouldn't type that. Yep.
I found it recently. I might be able to send you a link.
Okay. You can put it in the notes. Oh, why did I not just put that in the notes? That's dumb. Anyway, so the RetroTink Direct are these external dongles that are kind of vaporware. I don't know if they ever really released. I did grab. I'm pre-ordered one, CO. Optulus. I'll have to check that out. Optulus done some HDMI mod stuff. Yes, yeah. I coughed up the money, so I'm waiting for the pre-order. Did you send that? Anyway, so Mike basically shoved, I guess it's the 5X hardware, shoved the RetroTink 5X hardware into this dongle for specific consoles. So,
Folded it. MP3.
Okay, here we go. Nice. There we go. Yes, okay. So these are external. Oh, God. This is a nightmare. I don't like how I can't alt-tab things. Okay. Yeah, so this is like RetroTink 5X caliber hardware, but kind of like for one specific console. And these never really released. Well, how long ago was this? This is November 19th, 2021. So this was about 2 years ago. So you could see this is a PlayStation one, and then this is a multi-out one. So maybe that's what Mike was talking about. Maybe he's thinking about releasing these 5X Directs for certain consoles, especially because
I think at the time when they were announced, he did a giveaway shortly after.
Oh, I wonder if those ever got sent out.
He gave away one of each.
Wow.
But I think he cited part shortage issues.
Yeah, no, that's fine. He probably wanted to prioritize the 5X itself, or the 5X Pro. Yeah, I'm not. This is not like a slight to Mike. Obviously he wanted to prioritize the 5X because that's probably. I can't imagine what the price tag on these would have been then. I mean, what was the 5X? Was what, 300 or something about there?
Yeah, I think 300.
These if these were like what, 150 or something, it's a good chunk of change. But certain consoles like the multi-out one would be good for NES, Super Nintendo, and the N64. So you get a lot of bang for the buck there. But so I guess it's all leading up to the HDMI input on the RetroTink 4K. Oh, and then there's one last thing. So then Dan, in someone's Discord, Citrus 2000 PSI, aka Dan Kunz from PixelFX, mentioned that they plan to use the Retro Gem in the Super Nintendo. I don't know how far out this is, but that would be an internal mod versus all these other ones were external ones. So I don't know how long. I don't know. I mean, so we know timelines. They announced the Dreamcast is like a launch one, but it's still not released, I don't think, and or coming soon. And then Wii and Xbox are coming this year, by the end of this year. So I don't know when Super Nintendo or anything else might come out, and I don't even know how they would accomplish that. If it's an analog, because I don't know if it would be digital. There's no such thing really as a digital to digital. I don't know if CO or Red are here. They'd probably kick my butt.
I think it would be sick to have a. It seems like we're getting this HDMI standardization across a lot of consoles, where you're not necessarily having any scaling capabilities, but you're just getting HDMI out. So if we could bring that to the older consoles as well and pipe them all through a scaler, that would be awesome.
You know, it kind of hurts my brain to wonder which way it will go, and without them side by side to compare, which eventually, the plan is for me to get a 4K, a RetroTink 4K, and to do comparisons. And I think the main focus of that video, I don't know if obviously it's going to blow the 5X out of the water. It might just be analog. So like way back when when the 5X came out, I did a comparison video between the 5X and the OSSC, and it was pretty close back then, the 5X versus the OSSC. And I think that overall the 5X is better because you don't really have to mess around with profiles. You can get away with doing the generic profiles for the most part. And this is a nice transition. We're not quite there yet, but we've come around now so much where like the 4K, the RetroTink 4K is SNES can output digital video. I don't know if that's what we're talking about. SNES though. Yeah. The SNES HD demo Zwenergy posted last year. I might have talked about it. I hoover up Zwenergy stuff like none other. So, I think the goal of my 4K RetroTink 4K video is going to be analog versus digital across every console that I care about, really. So like the main ones. So like NES, probably all the way up to like, I guess PS2 now. I probably won't go beyond PS2. I think a lot of people will like the PS3 and stuff, but I just don't have time to do every single console known to man. So I'll probably do all the big hitters like I did for the OSSC versus 5X video, but analog versus digital if possible on both of those things. So from like the N64 and on, or like the Genesis now will have a digital mod. And in the sense of like, is analog better, or is analog better in the sense of it being cheaper, right? So everybody's talking about getting digital mods to have like a clean digital source, but analog is definitely a lot cheaper just by cable, if it's available for your console, unless you also need to do a mod. So like Super Nintendo obviously is one of those ones where you don't get peak performance unless you buy a junior and then you do the RGB bypass, or now with the edge enhancer for the 3-chip consoles, that's another, so you have to gussy up the RGB output on the Super Nintendo, or like an NES, you have to do the NES RGB anyways. So it'll be weird, and the comparisons are going to be strange. So I don't think it'll be safe to say. It's from everything that I've heard, it's not yes digital is better or yes analog is better across the board. It's like a console by console thing. So that's what I'm kind of hoping to go into, which path is better with the 4K. I hope that makes sense. Composite on a CRT. Yes. Yeah, so does that make sense? Like, I know that Jeff is talking about rip the digital mods, but there's some cases, like I think, and I wanted to play Halo or Xbox tonight because I don't have the Stellar HDMI or HD Plus installed yet. I just have the Stellar chip in there, but I did get a I'm gonna do this. Is this gonna blow up everything? I did get a 4K AverMedia capture card, and so I set my RetroTink 5X to do 1440p output, so 2560 by 1440p, or yeah. So it looks really good for 1440p is concerned. So I think that like a lot of people have said that the analog output on the Xbox is trash, but you're looking at analog right now. You're looking at the XOSVP adapter into the 5X. So that's composite video or component video, or yeah, YPBPR into the 5X. So I can't really play. Maybe it'll work. It's loading, but you know, like I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, are we gonna have more noise and things in the in analog, or is there gonna be ways around it? I'm playing through OBS, which is just trash, so I'm kind of laggy. But it looks really good, I think, just for analog. So I don't really know if there's a benefit, especially with the Xbox, to do. Like that's what my Stellar video is gonna be about. Whether or not analog is real, or doing this mod itself is really worth it, other than the actual Stellar mod chip itself, which has some benefits. I know I'm ranting, so tell me to shut up if you want, but
I'm curious to see about the analog stuff as well. I mean, I mentioned this last time, but Voltar did the comparison with the N64, and it's practically the same. So
yeah,
I'm not sure I would shell out the money for an HDMI mod for
every
just
system.
an HDMI connector. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about. Oh God. Can I move the God, this chat. Oh, here we go. Move it over here. Make it tiny. I'll just get rid of it, actually. See you later, chat. Okay. So, the second thing I wanted to talk about tonight was the return of FireBrandX. If you've been in retro long enough, and I don't mean this like, you know, if you're a noob, then I don't like you or something, or like you don't fit in it. If you have been around since the OSSC was the top dog, then you might know that probably the best way to get more performance out of the OSSC was to use I'll just go to his website. He's got a sweet website. Is to use FireBrandX's profiles for the OSSC. Oh, hey, look at that visual. Nice. That's what the OSSC looks like. I have the 3D printed shell thing. So if you go to the FireBrandX website, he's got a dank. Look at this classic web design. If you go to his website and then you go to OSSC optimal timing profiles, there is a giant. And then you have to go into like the profile editor, and you can like make a pre-made SD card that you could put in your OSSC. It's kind of, yeah. If anyone has questions about that, actually I talk about it a little bit in my OSSC versus 5X video. Where's the actual stuff? This JSON. Oh, this is just the JSON. Anyway, so he puts what are these profiles for those who don't know? For those who never had an OSSC, there is a bazillion settings that you can set in these high-end scalers. Really, basically, since it probably existed with the FrameMeister too, because he has some custom profiles for the FrameMeister also. So probably since the FrameMeister, there has been this concept of like somebody doing a lot of work to get the optimal settings for a specific console, and then kind of like putting them online. So FireBrandX is really good, has been known to put his profiles out online for a long time, since the FrameMeister and the OSSC. So he goes through every console, all the iterations of the console, basically the different resolutions and things. If there's different like interlaced versus, you know, not interlaced modes, he picks apart all these different consoles and makes specific profiles for each console and the variations. Just trying to look at chat. It's kind of hard to look over there. So I just haven't thought about them because the RetroTink 5X profiles are like the optimal timing, the generic timings. Mike Chi did some kind of things so that it was like some parts of it were automated, and there are some semi built-in profiles in there already. but the output of the 5X is already pretty good enough where you pretty much could just set it to those generic profiles and leave it and never really have to tweak it that much. You can tweak it a little bit, and Wobbling Pixels has a bunch of YouTube videos about each console for the 5X also. But it's come full circle where we have to bust out the profiles. I don't have a 4K yet. I'm hoping to get one sometime, but there are drastically more settings in the 4K than any other scaler that has ever been yet. So FireBrandX has a 4K, RetroTink 4K already, and he's been working on crazy profiles like 9x, 10x scaling for, like, he's got an NES and Super Nintendo ones. He talked about making Genesis ones. So if you just go, hopefully there's no I hope he doesn't have anything NSFW. So here's the different combinations for the Genesis, the Mega Drive. So he has these 9x ones. I don't know what DAR is. Does anyone know what DAR stands for? Anyway, so he has these like 9x ones. Maybe that's like integer scaling. I don't know. And then there's ultra sharp. So so this is for, there's 9x and 10x profiles, ultra sharp and DAR for both resolutions that the Genesis supports. So this is 8 different profiles that cover everything. So it's like crazy, just the amount of time that it takes to nail them, and they pay off. Like if you look at, like, oh, actually he posted one today because Mike was able to get I believe you can get, I believe the RetroTink 4K allows you to take screenshots, display aspect, or yeah, maybe something to do with the aspect ratio. Oh, okay, so it's kind of like little display aspect ratio. Got it. So it is freaking crazy. Like, I don't know why we're here, but we're here. As far as, like, this is beyond emulator. Like, an emulator is not even this good. Like, it looks better than an emulator can, just because I don't think, are there 4K emulators, or can you just arbitrarily scale up games? I don't really know how. I haven't really been in the, like, the desktop side scale emulation stuff. Like, I don't, yeah, anyways, so, like, this is insane. This is like, what, 9 times or 10 times 10x or something? So yeah, it's just, yeah.
But these look really good. But
yeah,
how do these tie into the RetroTink as far as, you know, I think one of the advantages to the 5X is, like you said, the presets are great. And
yeah.
You can just use them and you don't need to tweak it. Are these going to be in the 4K, you think? Or
so
have multiple different
oh, you don't have a 5X,
presets?
right? So the 5X has built-in the 5X has this menu and allows you to save different profiles. So I only have one. I don't really mess around with this at all, but I just wanted to create, if you don't save a new profile and then overwrite what profile the 4K or the 5X loads on startup, it will reset all the settings every single time. So I just made a generic 1440p profile for generic 4x3. So this is what shows up every single time. So you have these different profiles that you can pre-make and save. So, like, you can save one for different consoles. You could save multiple, but you only get 10. So I guess I could have
10 total, not 10 per console, right?
Yes, this is 10 across the board. So that was kind of the way with the OSSC, and I don't know if the 4K is more. Maybe it'll be more. I don't really know, but it'll be this deal where, well, plus with FireBrandX, with the OSSC specifically, he made this tool that allowed you can import his custom profiles and then export them to an SD card, which the 4K will have an SD card, so you'll be able to add these profiles on it. So you'll be able to, like, max out all the profiles without really having to change them in the upscaler. You can just import. I don't know if Mike is going to work on, like, an easy way to import them, but yeah, the easiest thing, at least for the OSSC, was to go to the FireBrandX's website, and you can, like, pre-make a whole console's worth of profiles and just go from there, which is also helpful when the firmware upgrades and it wiped out all the profiles and stuff. So I don't miss those days. But so it's very exciting. So the difference is definitely apparent, at least with the it's kind of hard to say that whether or not it's resolution or like, are we getting sharpness through resolution and just sheer multiplication numbers, like integer scaling? Yes, but there's also going to be things like reducing noise. Like I don't know anything close to all the settings in the 4K, but yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do, especially with especially when it comes to, like, I don't think FireBrandX is gonna touch the, like, I don't know, maybe he'll touch the HDR side of things, because there's two whole, man, I wasn't even gonna go into this, but I was just gonna talk about the FireBrandX profiles. But there's a lot to be excited about with the 4K, not just the, I believe the SD card is hot swappable. Yeah, yep. Yeah, I don't know what the SD card is going to be used for, other than maybe the screenshots, because I think you can take direct screenshots. The RetroTink 4K is going to have a better ADC. Okay, yeah, interesting. So I don't know. Okay, on one side of things, for most of my time using scalers up until the 4K comes out, I've been a sharp pixel boy, right? I don't mess around with scan lines, the fake scan line stuff. I don't have a PVM, so I can never really compared one versus the other. Obviously, probably if I had a PVM, I probably would use that more than a scalar. But I don't know. Hey, Chad Wolf, will the RetroTink 4K be able to upscale my Nintendo Switch? Yes. Yeah. That's the crazy thing about the 4K, is it unlocks like a new category of upscaling. So you've got the Switch, you've got the PS3, you've got the Xbox 360. Yeah, I mean, we're talking like a whole new level, a whole new genre basically of consoles that are now retro, I guess. In the anything that's 720p basically, or I know the Switch can do 1080, but barely. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll have optimal Switch profiles. That would be that would probably have to be per game, because I know that some games switch resolutions dynamically. So I don't know 100% how that will be handled, but it will look better for sure. It'll be 3 times higher resolution, right? Because if it's 720p, I don't know if there's a way to force it to a certain resolution. So I guess this is probably a good time to hack your Switch. Not for downloading, for pirating games or everything, but because it does give you more it gives you an additional control of your Switch as far as like so I can imagine somebody might just come out with a flat like 720p output, or some kind of like stable resolution that you can pump into these upscalers, and I don't know, the world, that's crazy. I never even thought about that until you mentioned that, Chad. So that's cool. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, or even running emulators and upscaling them to 4K.
Put your Raspberry Pi through the RetroTink 4K. I mean, I honestly, anything that's under 4K, right? 1080. I don't know. Would you do PC gaming? Could you do PC gaming? Like if you had a 14 or if you had a 1080p graphics card, would that look good upscaled through the 4K? Because I have an older graphics card. I have a GTX 1070, which is like a 7-year-old card now. It's good at 1080p, but really not above that. I don't know. Is your computer games gonna look good? How would you even play them though? You'd have to have a second monitor. You have to output your graphics card to the 4K and then back to another monitor. Wow.
That's pretty interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Especially like retro computing stuff, but even stuff that's not that old. Like I don't think of like a 1070 as being old. Like I had one of those not that long ago.
Like imagine playing Oblivion with just like, that's an old game, but it probably run really well on most graphics cards, but then like it doesn't look good, right? Like I don't think you can. Well, maybe there will be some cool like smoothing filters or something. John Lenneman is testing a bunch of stuff, so I'm excited for the people. Like I don't know if I can say this. I'm hoping to be able to get one to review, a 4K to review, if that makes sense. Hopefully you can understand where I'm going with that. But I'm thankful that the people that do have them already, like Wobbling Pixels, FireBrandX, obviously that's a killer one. GameSack has one. I don't know why. No, I'm just kidding. And I like GameSack. But just more people testing them, and then like the right people testing them, just to kind of move it along, move the because it's still kind of not out yet, so they're still working on it. And obviously like Digital Foundry, they'll give their input, because there's a lot of this technology that we never really discussed that much, because it's never been really an issue. So like more on like the HDMI side of things. And okay, so that's one. I mentioned I was a sharp pixel boy, so that's like one half of the goodness of the 4K it's not just 5 times or 6 times anymore. It's like 10 times. So we have basically the RetroTink 10X now. But so that'll give you nice crispy sharp pixels, but I don't think it's 100% of the way there to reproducing the sub pixels inside of a CRT. Like, I don't think the pixels in a 4K TV, they're small, but I don't think we're quite there yet. I mean, we're close, and that's why it looks good, but we're not 100% the way there to reproducing sub-pixel CRT density. So I think that would be like 8K. Well, I don't know, because Mike seems to think that there's a lot of life in the FPGA that they're using in the 4K. So I don't know if that means that they're planning maybe to do some kind of like, I don't know. Man, I have no idea. So just as far as so Sharp is on one side, and then CRT emulation is on the other side. And like I said, I never messed around with CRT emulation stuff in the RetroTink 5X. Oh yeah, Bob and Voltar. Yeah, I didn't mean to exclude them. They're like the people that have them. As far as having the 4K, the other side is the CRT emulation stuff. So there's 3 things, and I don't really spend that much money on monitors and TVs. I probably should. I just don't really have that much time to sit down and like play games. But hold on a second. What's up? What?
I think the 4K is where it'll first start to get really interesting with CRT emulation. There's the scan lines and stuff that you could do on the 5X and other scalers, but I think the level of detail is really going to go up with the 4K. I think we've seen some stuff, right? I can't remember exactly what it was that's been demoed, but I'm excited to mess with it. It looks really cool.
Okay, what was it saying? There's hair everywhere. Okay, so the CRT emulation stuff. So Mike kind of developed this new system. I don't really know that much about it, but I've kind of been following it a little bit, where you can you can kind of make a bitmap of any sort of CRT slot mask that you want. And it's not quite like, oh, I want a black dot here, or I don't want a black dot here. It's like, oh, I can turn off the red, green, or blue in this dot. So like you can kind of tinge the entire screen to look more like a slot mask, because a slot mask in a CRT is literally like blocking the lasers going through, and that's, if you look very closely, that's kind of gives you the pixel effect of a CRT. So the slot mask is essentially the metal grate inside of the CRT behind the screen, and it kind of gives you that look. So he made that system where you can kind of on the fly, like you can make actual mimic actual slot masks at a certain density, and that's why it looks good. So that's step 1, I think, or that was thing 1 that makes the 4K look appealing as far as the emulation stuff. Thing 2 is HDR. Well, HDR, which I don't really HDR for most things. I guess movies probably. I can't bring myself to buy like a good TV. First of all, like for my living room to like watch movies on, because I do watch movies. I have like a pretty cheap TCL brand Roku TV or whatever. I can't bring myself to it because I literally can't. My son threw a marble at a TV that I bought. Actually, it was like the same model and smashed it like a month after I bought it. So I lost the $600 TV like a month after I bought it, and you can't return that because it's like broken. So I had bought another one. So I literally cannot buy like a multi-$1,000 OLED yet. Like that's out of my realm. However, there are the 42-inch ones, right? So LG makes these 32-inch OLED, so the C2 and the C3, which is, I'd have to do some rearranging on my desk here. Like I'd probably have to put my computer on the floor, which I didn't really want to do, but I could probably change my desk in front of me to have the OLED in front of me, but I don't really want it to burn out. So I was thinking maybe I might put it on my bench, like instead of that monitor. So I don't know, maybe I'll put an OLED back there. But I think that unless you have a really good screen, HDR is really pointless, and it's really up until now that we're getting good screens. Not now, but like OLEDs, basically. OLEDs give you the high peak brightness, the high, what is it called? What's the nits?
Contrast ratio?
Nits is the value of brightness. I don't know, I guess. At a certain distance or something.
I thought OLEDs weren't so great at that.
It depends on which one, but like we're talking like over 600 nits it could do. It does 600 nits or something, which is high. Like this screen that I'm looking at now is like a 200 peak nits or something like that. The point is, the brighter the better. I know like the Sony one. There's the ones that do get brighter. So like if you're in a bright room, like if you're already in a room that is like filled with windows, you want an even brighter screen so that you can see it. But I think for my room, I think the LG. No burn-in. That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, I think the newer ones probably are getting better at it, and you know, you can get a C2 right now for about $800, the 42-inch C2. So if I can gussy up that money somehow, and maybe for like around Christmas time, and get the 42-inch, I honestly think it's that important. Like normally, if it was just me, like if I wasn't making content, I would not care to buy an OLED. I would just get by with just plugging the 4K RetroTink 4K into my screen. But I think that there's so much value in the CRT emulation stuff. The third thing is black frame insertion. So there's the slot mask stuff, which is really good, the HDR stuff, and then black frame insertion, which is I don't know, it like lowers the flicker, or it makes it smooth. It's like a smoothing effect, I guess, essentially. But all those features are in these new LG OLEDs. So, like me personally, I would not think to buy one, but like I said, that I think that there's so much happening with the CRT stuff that you can do that I don't really think it's fair to judge the 4K for the price that it's going to cost. I can imagine it's probably not going to cost $1,000 for the RetroTink 4K, but it probably won't be less than like $800 when it comes out. That's why Mike said probably $1,000. I don't know anything. I don't have any insider information. I'm just guessing that's probably not going to be at $1,000. Like it's probably going to be like $999. So like, okay, close enough. But for the and that's just what I mentioned, and I tweeted. I'll just pull the tweet just for something to show on the screen. I tweeted last week. Something. I tweeted last week, guys. This is.
What did he tweet?
So My Life in Gaming, basically, like most of their stream was talking about the scanline stuff. Actually, I think Try was recording, so Try has the 4K. He was capturing the 4K output of the 4K, but he was also recording with his camera close up at the CRT effect, like a pixel perfect kind of like. Focusing really good on the pixels on the screen, because there's really no way to get it from the capture because you're missing the other elements, right? You're missing HDR and you're missing the black frame insertion. So it's really, and they even talked about it in their video. They said it's like it's for me, like the other part of the 4K, the RetroTink 4K is the CRT emulation stuff, and it's for the person that's using it. You can't record it and demonstrate it really easily. I mean, I think that was a good idea with the camera on the screen. So, but if that's the case, if they're so blown away, My Life in Gaming is so blown away with the CRT stuff, then I just feel like I would be missing out, and it would be it wouldn't be fair for me to just go off of the sharpness stuff that I would typically have gone and talked about in the past. So that was why I tweeted here. I said, after watching it, I'm wondering if a lot of the advanced features are lost, meaning like you miss out on all the CRT emulation stuff if you don't have a good enough, well, I said a TV or monitor with good HDR, but I meant like if you don't have a good enough screen. And I was surprised at the comments that people are like, why don't buy the RetroTink 4K if you don't have a 4K or if a good screen or something. Like, hey, come on, people are not made out of money. I don't know, this is my opinion, but I wouldn't have thought about that because I just use I have a 4K monitor. I have a 27-inch monitor. I'm just trying to read the comments. YouTube compression destroys CRT filters. Well,
you did just mention that the TV was $800 and the 4K is going to be around the same price.
That's the cheapest OLED.
It's that unreasonable.
What? Huh?
I said, so I don't think it's too unreasonable to ask for a high quality display to pair it with. If the scaler is just that much. Like a TV, yeah, it's an expensive TV, but you can use a TV for more than just retro.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, because I'm a sharp boy, I never was thinking in that way. I was just thinking, hey, this is going to be really good for any 4K screen. I have this, I have a 4K screen just right here. I was thinking this was going to be a big benefit for me because I wanted it to be as good as possible, or sharp as possible on the 4K screen. But it wasn't until I watched that video that I was like, well, I don't personally care. So I would have been one of those people that would have bought a 4K and not bought an OLED. You know what I mean? Or a good screen. But in order for me to properly give my review of it, I almost have to. I think. This is me personally. Because I think that that's going to be the number one question someone's going to have if I do an entire review. Like, hey, why didn't you talk about CRT stuff and HDR and black frame insertion and stuff, which I'm still unsure about how all those things work, but those are just kind of words. But yeah, right, Tim. Yes. Well, they also don't stream in 4K either. I don't necessarily know if that will 100%. Well, first of all, I don't see any timeline where YouTube will fix their HDR stuff. And nowadays, nobody uploads HDR videos to YouTube, right? It's always going to be, if you do record a video in HDR, this is something called, what is the word? Why am I thinking of that? Why am I not remembering this? With the light stuff, Bonzo, help me out here. With your LUT, what the hell is that? Color correction. Color correction. That's what I was talking about. Oh, so there's this color correction stuff that you can do, or kind of. Well, so you take these mirrorless cameras and you actually record in a HDR profile. So the camera is actually recording higher dynamic range in the video, in the footage that you're recording. My camera is not quite good enough to do a true HDR thing, but Bonzo's is doing that actually now. Then there's something called the lookup table, which basically you're taking an HDR color space and then you're converting it back to SDR, but you're keeping the advantages of HDR by getting more dynamic range, so you can get more information in the light and the dark part of your image. So you get a nicer looking image, but it's not actually uploading a video in HDR to YouTube. So until YouTube fixes the HDR part, I don't think it will ever be. You can't ever really convey it unless you record the screen, like Try did. Not really worth buying with a cheap. Yeah, I don't know. Like everyone says that, but why not? Like that's what I'm trying to think. Like there's got to be people out there that want the 4K, and maybe they only have the $600 television instead of the $1,800 television. Like I don't know. I'm a cheap. The older I get, the cheaper I get. But in this,
you're gonna have to try it out and let everybody
right
know.
In the name of science.
I'm even more curious.
Yeah, so I'm gonna test out my screen here, which doesn't get very bright, but it does 4K. It does accept an HDR image, but I don't think it does any like the black frame insertion stuff, or it's not Well, so the other part of it is it's only HDMI 2.0 only, so it can only go up to 4K 60. I think you need 4K 120 to even enable black frame insertion. I don't know. So you need like double the frame rate to add black frame insertion. So maybe it is like 1440p at 120 is how you can enable. I don't know. So as you can see, there's a lot of
the RetroTink 4K is only HDMI 2.0.
Yes, yeah, it's not a 2.1. Okay. Well,
I didn't realize that.
I do not think. I don't know. I don't think you actually would need a 2.1. I don't know. Do you need it? Because so the more features that you enable, so like HDR is a feature, so that you have to increase the bandwidth. So like a 4K 60 signal is smaller bandwidth than a 4K 60 signal with HDR going with it, like the HDR information going with it. So that's why like it wasn't until now that we could do with the HDMI 2.1 and OLEDs and stuff 4K 120 hertz with HDR support. Like that's why it's such a beefy boy, such a beefy pipe. But like then your entire your entire I'm getting someone okay about the HDR Super Nintendo HDMI stuff. Hold on, sorry, I gotta reset everything. Okay. Oh god, no. So yeah, that's what enables you to get the extra features with the 2.1. So I don't necessarily know yet if we need that, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess. I don't know if I'll be able to get a 4K beforehand. I hope Mike helps me out with that because that's really expensive, and I don't know. I know that is really expensive for anybody, but yeah, it makes it easier for me, especially because I want to buy that plus the OLED to. So I really want to do a lot of analysis, and I'm sure everyone is going to do. I don't know. Everyone's going to have their own perspective as well. So I think this is like a new era. Hi, Belmont. No worries. All right, I'm done with talking about this. Do you have any questions about anything? Or do you want to talk about something that I missed about the FireBrandX profiles or the 4K or anything? But CRT stuff?
I don't think so. I don't think I have anything. Does anybody in the chat have anything?
Well, we can move on and they can bring it up again.
That's true.
Okay, last thing. Oh boy, I don't know how much of this I want to get into. Let's pull up the we'll pull up the website. Actually, it's gonna frustrate me. I'm not gonna lie, I do not like the PixelFX website. And Bonzo's actually a good person to have here because he is a web developer, web dev / designer, freelance.
Not so much a designer, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you're a designer if you put things on a screen and then you deliver that to a client. You're a designer. Whether you're a good designer or not, that's up to you. But that's what you are. Drama. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about. I mean, okay. So here's the thing. I'm sure some people have some drama stuff. I'm gonna try not to. Well, I'll touch at the very end about the drama, and I'll play devil's advocate for the drama because I think that there's an untold side, I guess. I don't know. So let's talk about the morph. So it's an interesting how I guess Woozle said that they pivoted the morph about a year ago to do 4K. But when Dan kind of talked about it, maybe this is before obviously this is before the announcement, but I talked to Dan in CO's Twitter space, and he said that it sounded like there was going to be two different versions of the morph. One was not 4K and one was 4K. I think he was just trying to pad out time for them to announce the 4K, or the morph 4K. So I think this is going to be the only version of it. So the PixelFX Morph is PixelFX's. It's still kind of vaporware because they've talked about it for a really long time, a couple of years now. I mean, it is what it is. It's things happen. Like the 5X Direct adapters never came out. So anyway, so there's two versions, I guess, of the Morph. The first one is like there's no good. See, this is here we go. Here's a good like comparison. The main gripe that I have with the website is there's not a good side by side. There's not like good details. I need like the good every little thing. But I guess there is here, but there's not a good side by side between the analog and the digital version of it. But okay, we'll talk about the overall stats, and then we'll talk about the two different versions. So 4K 60, obviously. So I'm curious if it will probably also be HDMI 2.1. And what's interesting, actually they talk about it here. So that's the other thing. They talk about features. Oh, they did repeat it down here, but they do mention HDMI here. So it will be an HDMI licensed device, which is interesting. I think the RetroTink 4K is as well. So it's not, and I think PixelFX has always been, they've always gone through the effort of doing the HDMI certification stuff, which is cool. So a lot of
benefit to doing that.
You can legally call your device an HDMI device. Otherwise, you have to call it. They might make you. They might have to test your device for like to make sure it is like a compliant HDMI signal. Because I know you can really bastard up the HDMI signal. A video this weekend. I don't know. That's interesting. I never heard of that. I didn't hear about that. Anyway, so looks like it'll have similar features. So first of all, it'll do 4K 60 with polyphase scaling. I don't know what that means. 444, so no chroma subsampling. I think the RetroTink 4K will do that. It's really on the capture side that things are kind of limited. I don't know if my capture card will do 444, but I guess I'll have to find that out. Expensive licensing. Well, I mean, it's sort of, legitimate expense, I guess. So HDR, variable refresh rate, black frame insertion. So it kind of seems like it has the I didn't really talk about variable refresh rate, but I think that if you have a display that can handle VRR, there are some retro consoles that have non-standard refresh rates that benefit from VRR displays. So that's kind of cool. Didn't really think about that, but yeah. I don't know how that will come across on a video, though, recording it. So scan lines. It doesn't really mention much about, unless it's somewhere else. Just says scan lines, not like CRT masks or anything. They probably, I don't know. So
it's also not finished yet, right? So
yes, this is not going to come on paper. It's the release is the end of the year. But they have the one cool part. Well, not the one. There's many cool parts about the other PixelFX products, but they have the OSD and being able to update Wi-Fi or update firmware over Wi-Fi. So that's really cool that you can do that. Right now with the RetroTink 5X, and I don't know what the 4K is going to be like, but right now I have to unplug my thing, go over to the computer here. I have to Google the name of the firmware updater software that Mike Chi uses. Then I have to go find the firmware. Then I have to go figure out how to, it's every time I want to update it. I don't update it often enough, so it's annoying every single time. Versus the Wi-Fi thing, it's kind of like set it and forget it. Gonna end up getting the Morph MP3 unless the Tink 4K somehow ends up coming in cheaper. In the Infinity Switch, I mean, in theory, the Infinity Switch will work with both. Yeah, Eric, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, bro, if you could buy the RetroTink 4K, you could buy the PixelFX Morph too, and an OLED. Buy the biggest freaking OLED you could buy. Like, that's my problem with. You can buy the OLED, dude. Yeah, just do it. Oh, just okay. Sorry, I'm salty. Okay, so there's two different versions. It's kind of like two asterisk versions. So the first one on the left here is the digital, and I think it's upgradable from one to the other. I think it's like a shell swap that you can do to give you the features of the analog one or something like that. But
there's an add-on board I think that goes in.
But I think it's something to do with maybe it's just these PCBs too. Oh, okay. So the digital one is just going to be HDMI input, which kind of checks out because the rest of their products are digital output only, HDMI output. Well, until the Infinity Switch comes out. Oh, well, even then, I'm curious if they would do some kind of a analog to digital conversion in the Infinity Switch. That would be kind of sick. So you could just do all your analog signals, convert it to HDMI somehow, like without doing any scaling, without doing any processing to it, and then just having one HDMI cable plug into your Morph. That would be sick. I don't know if that's a I don't know if that's a feature that they're thinking about, but that would be really cool, because then you wouldn't have to worry about analog cables ever again, other than your input side stuff. So yeah, it has what, 1 or 2? I guess it's only 1 HDMI input. I guess it doesn't really matter, because you can always throw a cheap HDMI switch. HDMI 2.1 or 2.0 switches are pretty inexpensive, so that's not bad. Accepts 240p to 1080p. So it doesn't accept 1440p. I don't know if the 4K does either. And I don't like this Comic Sans ass font or whatever it is. I don't know what it actually is, but it's hard to read. And it's okay. So yeah, so you can beef it up to be the analog with the analog bridge separately. So if you get the early bird pricing, it's only $375. So compared to the, let's say on the lowest end, let's say it's $600 for the RetroTink 4K. That's still $200 more than the Morph is. It's not doing that. So I don't know. That is kind of hard to read, isn't it? Like, I'm not like trying to shit on this website, but like, it looks better if I highlight it.
The analog bridge here and all the different inputs, there's like, of the analog version, they show 3 different variants. You know, they have one with VGA, one with BNC, and one with SCART.
There's actually 4 different ones, because this one's SCART and YPPPR. This one's VGA and YPPPR with a weird analog audio input. Oh, and a Toslink. So like, this one doesn't have Toslink, but this one does.
Well, I'm guessing when you buy the analog one, you don't get all 4 or whatever of those modules.
No.
You'd have to buy them or something. But we probably don't.
And they're going to be open source in the sense that the Gerbers will be available, so you could build your own. So that's cool. I mean, I think they'll probably be cheap. They don't really mention what they're going to be. So that's the second one, is the Morph analog, or the analog bridge stuff, which is basically giving you analog input to the Morph, and it's really not that much more. It's only $100 more. But I don't know if they give you all 4 of them, or all the different variants of them, or one. Like, I don't know what you'll be able to choose. Dan said that he would be willing to release the Kaiga. Yeah, so I think you'd be able to make your own analog bridges. However, I don't know if there's anything else that you need also. Oh, I think I heard somewhere too. Okay, never mind. I think I'm thinking about the Infinity Switch. And it looks like, obviously, you'll need to like take these apart, the case apart, to switch them out. So it looks like the case is pretty robust as far as like, because it won't explode, and it has these cool like fantastic colors. The way Dan and Co talked about Mike really put it. Yeah, we'll talk about that Veridor in a second. So that's the Morph. Now,
but if you use the Morph with their, you know, first party switch, the Infinity Switch,
yeah,
you should only need the HDMI version, the cheaper one, and then you can spend all your extra money.
Well, I don't know if the Infinity Switch will do the scaling or the transcoding. I don't know. So if you had some kind of if it had a built-in like component to HDMI transcoder or something like that, or DAC in it, then you wouldn't need it. But if it doesn't, you'll have to connect a VGA or something to it. I'm not sure. Oh, I guess we could talk about that in the meantime. I know people want to talk about want me to talk about the controversy stuff, but there are new. Oh, it's gonna be a pain in the butt to find it. Maybe it'll be here. I think Woozle or somebody posted some pictures of the work in progress Infinity Switch stuff a couple days ago, and it was sick. Anyways, so yeah, I can't really talk. I don't. That's gonna be coming later in the year too. So they didn't announce anything with that. I think they're probably still thinking about how it's going to connect with everything. So I don't know. I think the main advantage of the Infinity Switch is auto switching. Yeah, that's the one thing. So I know that, like, I don't know, people love component cables, like HDR component cables, but way back when I actually have a pretty full set of SCART cables, and I bought a G SCART, so I have the automatic SCART auto switcher for all the use that's given me the last and I kind of slowly changed over to the component cables, and I'm only stuck with my Extron Crosspoint, which is really good. Like, it doesn't deteriorate the component signal. However, it's not automatic, so you have to hit the buttons and stuff. It is modular, and it will have a mixture. Well, here's the thing too. I think it will have a mixture of it will have HDMI inputs on it. That was a feature that they teased in the beginning. So I'm not sure actually if it'll have a mixture of like HDMI stuff here, and that, or maybe it'll have to be a whole separate thing. I think that's kind of a can of worms that they're probably testing, or going to have to test more, because not only are there different types of signals, there's also different like subtypes. Like, even RGB itself is not really just one thing. Is RGBS. There's RGSB, which is sync on green. Then the sync on Luma. Then there's VGA, which is like horizontal and vertical broken out, so it's not composite sync. Like, I should do a whole video about sync signals. I know My Life in Gaming did one a while ago, but it's just interesting to talk about. Okay, so we'll get into the drama, I guess.
Before the drama,
okay.
Talking about Dan releasing all the KiCad files.
Yeah.
I think what'll be really cool is, I don't know, Jeff Chen or somebody that's really into
making the VGA only one.
Making these amazing, add-ons for scalers. Is I feel like somebody will come out with the ultimate, morph, to where you'll be able to use every input instead of just choosing your own and having to swap out modules. So that's one thing that I think could be cool. Maybe with the Infinity Switch, it's
like a hot swap module thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's one thing that I think would be cool to see. If they're not going to do it, but they give other people the ability to.
Hi, Mad Mardigan. This is Bonzo. He's a friend / contributor in my Discord, and he runs Bonzo's retro.shop website. And he's a talking companion, retro talking companion. That's not a new series of videos. That's so cringe. Retro talking companion, yes. Okay. So I'm not gonna pull up the Discord thing, whatever, but because I'm not gonna go into super detail, I'll just leave it super high level. Okay, there's some beef between Dan. I think Dan specifically. I'm not sure if there's beef with other PixelFX team members, but Dan specifically, and Mike Chi from the creator of the RetroTink. Now, I actually reached out to Dan that day, or like the day after that happened. So he said basically, long story short, that Mike Chi was greedy for the RetroTink 4K being $1,000 or whatever it is. So even he said that, Dan said that he would feel guilty, kind of. He would not feel good about doubling the cost of his scaler because he knew how much, or how little, I guess, how little the hardware actually costs. So it's kind of a tinge of Dan kind of understands how much money the RetroTink 4K is going to cost, like the BOM cost. And he's kind of not... Well, what's really interesting is that I think most people agree that mods in general are not the BOM cost, right? So it's not whatever item you buy. Obviously, there's firmware, there's support, there's all these other things that go into creating a product, especially at the higher tier, like the more professional people, RetroTink, PixelFX, HD Retrovision. I'm sure there's other, to some extent Voltar. There's some level of additional price that is baked into the cost of the things because that's just cost of doing business. I mean, it is what it is. So that's one thing to consider. Jeff Chen is here.
You're not paying for the materials. You're paying for the engineering.
Jeff says something stupid. He's in the nugget war. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the McDonald's nugget things that are on Twitter everywhere, you should check out Twitter and see that, because they're making these stands that look like, because they look like chicken nuggets. They're like these little dumb emulator things, and they're making these little stands that go into it. Sorry, I didn't mean to like derail.
Oh, it's all good. They're imported from Japan, I think.
The actual, the nugget things. Yep, it's a great nugget war. Yes, research and development. So that's kind of, I think most people can agree with that. I don't think there's anybody who's like, oh, I think that this mod should only cost what it takes to produce it and no more. I don't think that's very, I don't think that's a good opinion to have. Not like it's a bad opinion, but it doesn't hold any weight, because obviously they're not going to be able to, if they don't have extra money, they're not going to be a business anymore. I mean, that's just it. Business is business. So that's beside the point. So Dan said that Mike was being greedy with the cost of the which we don't even know, first of all. So I was like immediately face palming, because we don't even know the actual final cost of the 4K yet. And Dan still kind of doubled down that it's going to be overpriced for the hardware. But there's a lot.
Not to mention, we don't know the final feature set of either device.
Right. Yep. But there's also just a lot, right? Like you said, there's features. Like, we don't even know. No one's seen what the Morph can do yet. I haven't seen a single screenshot of what the Morph can do. I've seen a bunch of screenshots of what the 4K can do. I know that FireBrandX is making profiles, which immediately makes the 4K RetroTink 4K more valuable in my mind, because I know this person's gonna no life create profiles. I hope Mike compensates them, or I don't know. Somehow there's a handshake deal there, because that's a lot of time and effort. Obviously, he did give him, I think, a 4K, so I mean that's a lot, but still. So I don't know if FireBrandX is going to make profiles for the Morph. Like, immediately that makes the 4K slightly more better, even though there's no additional hardware in it. So it's kind of vaporware-y, the Morph. I know that it's coming. I believe Dan that it exists and it's a thing, and from his perspective, and what he should have communicated instead of what he did communicate, was that they're lesser known. They haven't made a scaler before, so they want to let the hardware speak for itself. That's what Dan should have said, right? I think most people probably think that he probably shouldn't have said anything. But there's other backstory. I don't know. I don't really have a whole bunch of proof of this other than what Dan told me, that there has been these. I don't know. The community and Dan, they just haven't had good interactions, I guess. He thinks that there's a lot of trolling going on to them specifically, like to PixelFX specifically, about just like features or the clown emoji thing, or just like, some of it may be valid, some of it's not valid. So there's kind of a lot of like, I don't know if like paranoia is the word, but it's something's going on with Dan, and I kind of feel bad, because I don't know, and I don't want to get in much more to it than that. But with that being said, I'm gonna put my devil's advocate hat on. How often do I don't know, like, do Coke and Pepsi get along? Like, do their CEOs get along? I don't know. Is there some amount of rivalry that Dan feels is so strong that is, he's not like, he didn't call him a swear or anything. He called him greedy. He didn't call him like, he didn't say Mike is a B word, like he said greedy. He didn't say worse than that. Or maybe he did, unless he did somewhere else, but it's kind of rivalry level stuff. Like, it's something that Ash Ketchum might have said to Gary in Pokemon. Like, oh, Gary's he's being greedy, and he's getting all the Pokemon without me, right? Like, that's maybe it was kind of taken a little bit out of proportion, but I know that Dan has kind of repeatedly said some stuff. So blast processing in Nintendo, yeah, right, or like, you know, Tim Apple and Bill Gates, do they like have barbecues all the time and like high five and share features and like no hard feelings with that? Like, I'm sure there's a Windows feature or a Mac feature that one or the other has stolen and they've been pissed about it, but they just couldn't say anything publicly. And the other,
I think you just nailed it, is they don't say it publicly.
I guess, but the other thing, so to even double down on the devil's advocacy, Mike Chi often says that he doesn't like corporate speak, right? He doesn't want to filter himself when he talks on Twitter, right? He'll say the clown emoji thing, or I mean, most of the time he's like self-deprecating. Like he doesn't often fire the Mike clown cannon at someone else that I've seen, that I know of. I mean, yes, okay, that's not true. He's fired it at me. I did something dumb on Twitter a year or a half ago or something, and he fired the Mike cannon at me. But like, it's fine. It's just Twitter is a very difficult communication tool, and yeah, and I guess to some extent Discord. Although Discord, for all of you who are listening, Discord is not a private platform. Any unless you actually are in a private channel, but any public rooms in a Discord server you're in, you may as well think that somebody can just copy. I mean, unless you don't care. If you don't care, then it doesn't really matter. But anybody can just copy what you say and just post it to someone else. So just be aware of that. I think that's more of a courtesy thing, like just be a good person type deal. That's just me in general, not just on Discord, but like I don't like drama. I don't like talking. I don't know. I just don't like drama in general. So so I don't know. I guess super long story short, I don't think that this it's kind of a dick move that Dan said that Mike was being greedy, but to in Dan's words, he was just speaking his opinion. Like it's a valid opinion. At some point, if you found out, let's say you found out that the RetroTink 4K only cost Mike $1 to like in BOM cost for whatever reason, it's not going to cost $1, or let's say it's $100, right? And Mike still charges $1,000 or $600 for it. Does that make a difference? I don't know. So obviously Dan knows a lot more about how much it costs to build a scaler than I do, or most of the public does, I think. I don't know. There's more to the story, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, than just Dan. He said greedy, he's bad. Now you can kind of treat Dan however you want, and I don't care. But I'm curious to get other people's opinions about that. If you want to say a quick thing in the comments.
For me, I mean, I'm just gonna wait. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't even buy a 5X. $300 is a lot of money. I'm like, how much am I really going to use this with a 4K scaler on the horizon?
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait and see what comes out next.
Right.
So I've kind of just been sitting back and waiting for this whole time anyway. I'm not like itching or dying to get one. So for me personally, I'm just going to continue to sit back and let the devices speak for themselves, Once the Morph comes out and once the 4K comes out, we'll see what they can do and what they can't do, and look at the track record of the companies, which is fine.
Just compare them side by side.
They both come out with a lot of stuff and have continued to add features to their products. Maybe one of them more than the other, but I think we're just gonna wait and see. But if the price difference really is like $200 or something, then of course that gives the Morph an advantage. But I'm sure there'll be a reason for the extra price over the 4K.
That's why I owe it to get an OLED and do the. I'm not gonna do like super detailed testing, but I mean it sounds like from the My Life in Gaming video that it's a very apparent, immediately noticeable, immediately beneficial thing. The HDR CRT stuff. So if that's like a huge thing that the RetroTink 4K can do, but the Morph is never going to be capable of doing. Although it does all this HDR and stuff, but like if the slot masks give it a step above, then it's worth, that's an additional thing now to compare. So it just kind of makes my life harder, but I kind of can't not get one. I gotta figure out how to do that. Yeah, Belmont, you have to.
In worst case, oh sorry, go ahead.
Belmont, you can't charge for any of your art, your glass blowing art, except for the sand that you bought, or the rods, the glass rods. You have to charge for the glass rods only, not for your time. Okay, what? Sorry, go ahead. That was dumb.
Oh, sorry. I just think like what's the worst case scenario here is like, okay, they really are equal, and then the 4K has to price drop to be competitive.
Right.
I don't think that's a terrible end of this story. It's like, okay, maybe Mike did have a price a little high. These devices haven't existed yet. There's not a 4K scaler now. I'm sure it was a lot of work, especially one-man team. So the price has to be adjusted. Like, who cares?
Yeah, that's the other thing. But I mean, then you have like a 4 or 5 man team. But obviously they make other products on the PixelFX side, so it's not just the Morph. But
right.
But I mean, that's the other thing too. Is obviously it's not going to be 4 times better, but it should be better. I mean, is Mike Chi a genius that he's a 10x? Is he a 10x guy? Is Mike Chi a 10xer? Is that a stupid saying? Do people actually say 10x? That's just like a cringe thing that I think it's cringe, but
I don't know if anybody says it unironically.
I hope not. It's like, I don't know. Anyways, maybe Mike is the 10x, the first real 10x guy, and he's worth 4. He's worth more than the 4 PixelFX guys. But obviously, everybody comes from different backgrounds and things, and it's nice. Yeah, having options is nice. First of all, I don't really know how I feel. Somebody commented about the Terra Onion thing and about how Alex from Terra Onion was kind of bad mouthing Crix. I'm not gonna get into that right now, but I guess it's maybe more so relevant to talk about like cloning too. Like at what point is like canceling somebody or something valid? I don't know. Like, I mean, okay, no, that there's a point to where canceling somebody is a real thing, that like somebody said something stupid or like that you didn't know about the person before and now they're just a terrible person, I guess. There's only some, I don't know, everybody has different opinions about this, so I'm going to shut my mouth before I get in trouble. But as far as development of these products goes, it's a good thing, I don't know, to have more than one option for a lot of stuff. It's not comparable. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I mean, I don't know that much. I didn't like analyze every single thing that Alex said. But there might be more to that I don't know either. More the geopolitical situation. I don't know. I'm not really gonna get into that, but not in the camp of never buying PixelFX products again. Yeah. Do I like that Dan said that, or do I think Dan should have not said that? I guess. But if a lot of people like, I try to be professional, right? I'm trying to build, and this might sound cringe, but like, I'm trying. Newsflash, guys, I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to do better at YouTube. I'm trying to do better at Twitter. I'm trying to gain followers. I'm trying to do the whole thing. I don't really care that much, and I don't really care enough to like try to force myself to become viral or something to get a lot of followers. Like, it doesn't really interest me. What interests me is reaching new people that are also interested in retro stuff. Like, I really don't have any desire to go outside of that. But I think it's even stuff that's not necessarily like me attacking someone else. Like, I'm gonna throw Voltar under the bus because he's really good at doing what I think people shouldn't do. But obviously, Voltar can do whatever the hell he wants. I think the Bluetooth controller thing that he said he didn't understand, or he wouldn't install the Bluetooth controller mods on his own consoles or something. Like he swore. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something about, oh, I know that some people like the Blue Retro mods or whatever, Bluetooth controller mods. He didn't say Blue Retro specifically, which is kind of funny. But he didn't like Bluetooth stuff, but he understands that some people like it, but he wouldn't touch it or something like that. And people freaked out that he said that. So like, do I wish Voltaire hadn't said that? I guess. I mean, it doesn't really matter. And you could say whatever you want, but to me, it's about the appearance of new people, or maybe even people that are already in the scene, right? That might be disagreeable to some. The fact that it's disagreeable to some people that he said that is like, okay, I would have never said that. I try not to ever cross barriers like that. So I don't know. It's just that's just my personal opinion. I try to be professional in how I speak and how I talk and how I communicate. Sometimes I try to be funny. I think I'm funny, but sometimes I'm not funny. The Cyberdyne. Yeah, Cyberdyne. Yeah, I don't know. That is interesting too.
Bad to like trash talk your direct competition, especially for something that didn't need to be said. I mean, the prices are vastly different. I mean, people are going to notice.
And we don't even know the prices yet. So that was why it was like, that kind of undercut the whole thing for me, but I don't know. Okay, well, I was hoping to play Halo, but I couldn't figure out the audio. I have this. Maybe I'll talk for a second about my crazy audio or my crazy HDMI stuff. Like, I'm trying to prepare for the 4K to be able to record. Oh, and the Morph. I'm trying to prepare my whole and this is the last thing, and then I think we'll sign off. But thanks, Chad. Yeah, I try. You know, I come at it with the perspective, and I said this before. I come at it to the perspective of, you know, I try to treat it's. If you've never made content where you're staring into a camera, it's extremely difficult in the beginning. It's very hard to treat the camera how it needs to be treated for you to come across as not dumb or not flat or something. And sometimes I don't. Like, when I have to make the Retro Mono News videos, like, sometimes I just have to crank those out. But like sometimes, or sometimes I'm just not in the mood. When I have to film something, I'm not in the mood, so it's hard. All right. Anyway, so I'm trying to get to the point where I can capture 4K footage mixed with, I just learned that I should be exporting all of my videos to YouTube in 4K now. So you'll see I didn't get a 4K camera. I still have my old camera, but I'm going to be exporting all videos at 4K because it does a little bit of upscaling. I don't know how much upscaling it does, but when you do that, YouTube actually gives you better bitrate for your video. Like, it gives you a better encoder when you upload it as a 4K video. So even for the same video, it will look better if it is imported as a 4K file, even with the same camera, because when it gets re-encoded by YouTube, it looks better. So that's kind of the first thing, is like, I'm all 4K, even though I don't have a 4K camera going forward. All my videos are going to be 4K, not live. That'll probably still be 1080. But I don't know. I have gigabit internet. Am I going to destroy people if I start uploading or start streaming in 4K 60? Is that going to be a lot of data? Like, people's phones are just going to be melting. I don't know if YouTube does live encoding of that stuff. So anyway, so I have a not the new one, not the new AverMedia 2.1. I have an AverMedia Live Gamer 4K, which is the 2.0 HDMI one. It'll do 4K 60 with 4K 120 pass through, but I'm probably not even going to use the pass through. So basically, it's just an HDMI 2.0 input. So I'll be able to do 4K capture, which is nice. 4K 60 FPS. I like to do 60 FPS, obviously, because games are 60 FPS. That's why I record. That's why I film at 60 FPS my video, so that it matches the frame rate. But then when I actually do mods, like on my desk, when I do mods at my desk, I have like my obviously the capture card is in my computer, which is over here, but all my videos I kind of film them at this desk. So this desk has a HDMI 2.1 switch. So I've had a 4K HDMI switch back here, and it also has a an HDMI splitter. What do I use the HDMI splitter for? Oh, for my camera. So when I have my camera, the splitter will allow me to go to the switch and to the monitor at the same time or something. So I have 4K inputs here, and I have a really long, there's a bunch of cords here, but I have a really long, thick HDMI cable that's really well shielded. It goes all the way around my room, and it goes into the second. I have this other 4K 60 switch, and that goes into an audio extractor, and then into another splitter that lets me show it on my 4K screen, my 4K monitor here on my desk, but also goes into the capture card. So anything that I can see here, I can see here, and I can record it. So that's why I was going to be able to play Xbox with the. I've got the my OGX 360 adapter with the 8-bit DO and the Series S controller, the Series controller. So I like this controller a lot for original Xbox. So I was gonna play it, but I can't get the audio to work for some reason. This was a last minute thing. I thought I was gonna be able to do it, but so yeah, I got a lot, and it's like that's why I was asking Bob about do you have 2.1 set up, because for the longest time the HDMI 2.1 everything. So obviously everything that I talked about. So I have a 4K switch here. I have a 4K switch here. The audio extractor, the splitters, all that stuff has to be the same HDMI protocol, or you lose it. Down lowers it, right? So it's not not through compatible. So any device that you pass through that is not compatible with the higher one, it lowers it. So I would need a 2.1 switch here. I would need a 2.1 switch everywhere. That's why I was trying to talk about Bob. But I'm glad that that's why I'm kind of glad that the Morph only does 4K, or no, HDMI 2.0, because that means that for the Morph and the, I'm assuming the Morph, because it doesn't say here, but the RetroTink 4K might be different audio set. Oh yeah, maybe it is. Well, actually I have speakers. I'll mess around with it. So anyways, I'm hoping for the foreseeable future that I can get by with what I have already and not buy more things, because I need to buy that OLED. I know that was a weird rant, but that's like something that retro, I don't think people considered that much. Well, maybe some people did, because you should have an OLED, bro. Everybody's got to have an OLED, right? If you're buying the 4K, you got to have an OLED, I guess. And everybody's an expert on then you have to have a $1,000 receiver, obviously, that has HDMI 2.1 in it, right? They don't talk about that. Or are you just listening to your upscale? I'm sorry, I don't know who I'm trolling right now, but I'm just going with it. Are you listening to your RetroTink 4K with your TV speakers, bro? Or do you have a receiver, $1,000 receiver, and then you have $100 speakers, bro? You don't have $1,000 speakers? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm taking it like that's how I took that when somebody was like, "You should have an OLED, bro." Like, you don't realize it's everything. Everything in the chain is all. Okay, sorry.
I have a 10-plus-year-old soundbar at this point.
Yeah, there you go.
I just assume it's better than what my TV has, so I keep rolling with it.
I have Wharfdale. I don't know the exact ones, but it's a speaker. I have these they're not amazing, but they were pretty good. These bookshelf speakers on stands downstairs on my TV, and I have the center speaker that matches it, so it sounds, it's all right. But I have a cheap ass Sony or Yamaha it's a Sony, I think, receiver. Nothing new. It doesn't do 4K at all. Which OLED am I leaning toward? So probably the C2, because the C3 is out. The C2 is like the cheaper one, like they can discount it, but I think the C3 doesn't have that much more features. Or like, I checked ratings.com, which is spelled RTings. Like I follow them a lot. Anytime I do anything to do with TVs or monitors, I check ratings and watch their reviews and stuff, because they are like the Bob or the Digital Foundry of TVs and stuff and monitors. So I trust their opinion. And so they're their number one pick for 4K HDR is actually not the OLED or the LG. It's Sony. I think it's the Sony, but it's not.
OLED.
I don't. Is it an OLED? I don't think the Sony is an OLED.
You sure it's not a QD OLED?
Is that Is it the same as? I don't know. It's
It's the new OLED.
QLED. No, I'll have to check out the review. I think I did watch Linus Tech Tips talk about using a C2 or using one of those as a desktop monitor. That kind of
LG TVs have great like community support as a monitor. Because
I
I
think
just bought a new monitor and I was looking into it, and there's all kinds of like apps that you can like add on that are specifically for the LG TVs.
interesting. Another thing that annoys me in general, just in life, is, well, maybe I shouldn't go too into detail with this, but I have a pretty substantial Plex setup for movies and TV shows and things, and the only thing that I cannot play, or I can't play some of those HDR formats. If it's like HDR, if it's just like normal HDR that's unbranded, like not HDR10 or Dolby Vision, I can play it. But if it's like a HDR10 or Dolby Vision file, it doesn't. Plex is a web-based movie and video streamer, so you can like have movies and shows on a server somewhere, but then you can watch it through the your network and stuff on different TVs and stuff. And there's apps for different devices and things. So maybe having a C2 would be cool if it could play Dolby Vision, which I think it can. So I can actually watch those movies like without having to avoid those movies. Because that was the other big thing actually when I mentioned that thing about maybe I should get an OLED. Somebody was like, "Well, I'm probably missing out on a lot of things, a lot of movie and TV show detail by not having a good HDR screen." And I like to watch a lot of shows and things, so I don't know.
I've heard people joking about how dark a lot of shows have been recently.
Right? Yeah, like not Game of Thrones, but House of the Dragon. Yeah. There was like this episode that was like, I can't see this. Like, what the hell is this?
I haven't gotten around to watching that yet.
My mate Vince is a good YouTube channel. Chad, yeah, really good. He has some good, kind of like what the heck's his name? Tronics Fix. What's his name? I don't know. We just like fixes broken stuff. See, I just have random things in my head. I don't know, just stuff. I'm a fan of YouTube also, so I think I was a fan of just consuming YouTube content. I don't have to like speculate. Like I know I have been a fan of YouTube in general for decades, right? Since I was a kid playing. Like I remember distinctly, Halo 2 had come out. Or was it Halo 1? Maybe it might have been just even Halo 1. And there was a whole bunch of glitches that you can do in that game. Like you could do like the sword lunge glitch where you can like lunge at somebody across the map if you switch weapons somehow or something. And then there's also one I found where if you're in a tank and it's upside down and you get back in it somehow and you flip it, it will like do a tornado spin and like fly across the map. And so I remember distinctly Googling how to do those glitches. Or YouTubing, I guess it would be then, before YouTube was owned by Google actually. So that was like what? This is a long ass time ago. So I've been a fan of YouTube, just the things that you can get from YouTube for a really long time. So I know a lot of things. I probably forgot a lot of things. So I just enjoy YouTube as a format, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but I guess as far as why I'm doing YouTube, and I don't know, I just like consuming YouTube content versus like movies and shows and stuff. Halo 2 long range lunge, yeah. Super bounce, doing the super bounce in an actual multiplayer game. Yes, multiplayer Halo 2. Okay, all right, that's it for me. Do you have anything, Bonzo? You want to shout out anything? You have anything cool on your website that you're working on, or not really?
Not yet. If you're into the open source cart reader,
the Sandy cart reader.
Yeah, Dupes did a video on it a little while ago. There's a new version that recently came out. I'll have those soon, but not yet.
It looks like it's not that much newer, right? Like it just has one of the features is auto voltage switching, so you don't have to switch it. Is that correct?
Yeah. It has a V select is what they call it, but it's the automatic voltage switching. But you can get a board for a few revisions back just to add that onto yours. The newest feature is the RTC clock on board, but all it does is add accurate
Like a timestamp to your thing.
to your dump. So yeah,
Those
are all. If you look at the new boards, they're all like tiny SMD components that you have to solder on. But new kits will have them all pre-soldered, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. I also got a bamboo printer, so my prints will be much better. Nice retro gem.
I don't know if I was supposed to share that, but
wait, is that a gem?
Yeah, that's a gem. It's coming. There was this. There's a little bit of
video.
There was a little bit of politics, kind of. There was this embargo that was supposed to be last Thursday or something, and that was why on maybe that was lined up with Macho Nacho's normal upload schedule. So that kind of makes sense now that I think about it. But he's not finished yet with his. So the embargo got changed to tomorrow. So I think that means that Macho Nacho's video will come out tomorrow on the gem. I don't know what he installed. It looks from his pictures, it looks like he also posted a teaser that day too. So I teased the PS2 Slim shell. He teased a close-up of the flex cable install, but it looked like it was a flex cable install of the PS2 Fat. So his video is probably going to be on the PS2 Fat, whereas I have the Slim. So, coming soon. I botched my flex cable, and not on the pins that you saw. Well, yeah, I won't get into it. I botched my flex cable install, so I'm waiting for a new flex. So that's why I'm working on Stellar. Not like I want to do one or the other, but both of them are coming.
Do you have any, how are you loading your games on the Slim PS2?
So I have a. This is the cool thing about the PS2. Wherever it is. So I have the. I got them from AliExpress. I think I might have even got them from Bitfunks. I think they sell them. They just. So the FreeMake boot is one memory card, so that allows. I don't really know what it's called, like the FreeMake boot loader thing. That allows me to run OPL. So I run OPL, and then I have a MX4 SIO SD card adapter that you can load games from. So that's kind of cool because it allows you, like, I can put it in my PS2 Fat, I can put it in my Slim, like I can just kind of carry things across, which is cool. Oh, and I guess maybe I'll save it for. I hope I remember to talk about this for my month end video, but. Somebody mentioned to me that I mentioned in my video that I was hoping that the MemCard Pro for the PlayStation 2 might replace both of those things, so you'd only need one thing to do both FreeMake boot loading stuff and loading games from a memory card. But now that I think about it, obviously you probably want, like, data is getting loaded all the time, so it's not necessarily like you can not have the SD card part all the time, you know. I was thinking it might, like, be able to do some bank switching where it could load the game and do saves at the same time through one port, but I don't think that might be physically possible.
Modsville has posted some things about an M2 drive in the Slim PS2, so I'm super excited to see what comes of that.
Oh, and the internal blue retro adapter from Gus. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but so I ordered that too. It's not gonna come in time, I don't think, for my gem video, but I think the internal blue retro adapter, which will support both ports and external controller bypassing, so like you can plug in an actual controller and it will turn off the controller or it will move to the next port. So that's like a fully loaded, almost like and it will remotely turn on and off the console. So it's almost a clone of the GameCube, the Laser Bear GameCube features for internal Blue Retro adapter. So that's sick. So you can have a fully loaded PS2 Slim in the future with a gem, with the Blue Retro adapter, and then with this internal M.2 SSD. Well, that's the other thing too, is how it's hard to get. Isn't it harder to get M.2 or no, SATA M.2 SSDs, right? Because it's not compatible with NVMe.
I think they're around.
So I don't know how long those are gonna be available for. So just questionable. I didn't buy the 8BitDo keyboard. They don't. Not to say that I need someone to send me things for me to review them now. People have been sending me things, which is really awesome. Spoiler alert, I don't really make that much. I don't really make money. I have yet to pay back all the money that I spent on all the gear that I bought for the channel in the entire time that I've been doing the channel. If that makes anyway. I mean, I'm not trying to guilt people, but I'm like, I don't necessarily do this as a side hustle for extra income. I probably could, but I probably could do something else that would be better. You know, like I could get a job at McDonald's or something would be better money than this. But so it really, really helps me that these developers and things give me the products instead of me just having to buy them out of my money, out of my pocket. So I really want like Retrobit and 8BitDo to send me things because they're really relevant to the audience. I mean, not everything Retrobit makes is relevant, but like almost everything that 8BitDo makes, except for like the Xbox controller stuff, you know, I could make a compelling video like I did the N64 wireless thing.
If people wanted to give you money, where could they go to do that?
If people wanted to give me money, so I have a Patreon. I don't really promote it that much because I don't know. It's patreon.com/Dubsenhour. You can look up there. Yeah, you could do that. Maybe I can set up like a one-time donation thing if someone didn't want to. I'll have to think about that and post it because that might be appealing. And I understand that times are hard. Like, I'm not trying to talk people out of subscribing to my Patreon, but I personally also stopped subscribing to everyone basically because I'm just trying to navigate life. I guess it's not like no offense to anyone, but I don't know. Life's crazy, so I understand if you don't, but that's why it's really helpful for me to get stuff from people. So companies. So. Oh, Anna, you've sent me stuff. Hey, Chad. Hey, cool. Thank you. Yeah, in the future, I'll set up a different way of donating. I really appreciate donating in any form, but yeah, YouTube or Twitch or something, they're like, they take a big chunk of it. So thank you. I really appreciate that. It goes toward the OLED fund. I should put like an OLED fund goal. There we go. Cool. All right, I'm done talking. I'm just kind of ranting now. Look at that little dinosaur thing. That's cute.
For your PS2 Blue Retro board, did you get the basic one or the complete?
I got the basic one because I have up somewhere a couple of years ago, or actually it is probably a couple of years ago at this point. I wanted to design my own Blue Retro boards. Like when I first heard about Blue Retro and I went through the schematics and things, it's not really that difficult, and that gave me motivation to learn KiCad and everything. So I wanted to like make my own, so I bought a bunch of dev boards. I have about 10 or 9 dev boards left. Obviously they're not like just the ESP32 modules, but they're easy enough to desolder, I think. And it gives you the added benefit of being able to flash them first on the dev kit and then desolder it. And so I have a bunch of ESP32 modules that I can desolder and solder on there. And I think that's the only thing. OnlyFans for an OLED, yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. See, I have a hard time thinking about paywalling stuff. I think I would rather do like shirts, like if I had merch. I think I'd rather do merch than like paywalling anything. But I don't know. I actually, Bonzo is probably yelling at me just telling me to shut up in his head because we've talked about ways of just doing more stuff. But yeah, it's just difficult. I don't know. Yeah. Doing it, not necessarily doing it.
Good. Other people.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. I guess this is just gonna be once a month to alternate between the modding news videos. So that's good. a good pace. So thanks everyone. Thanks Bonzo for hanging out for a couple hours.
Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. It's been fun.